Hey everybody! I think we are officially live. Yes, okay. I see some of you joining in. Looping in the lovely Ellie of Mindful. And she should be joining us in a second here. Well, hi love.
Hi, nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Let me pin a comment so everybody knows what we're up to.
Cool.
I think I can do this. I'm like, how do I do this? This is all new. Okay, let me pin that. Pin comment. Oh my god, I did it. Yes. Okay. Tech win for today. Ellie, I'm so happy to see your face.
I'm so happy to see your face.
Oh my gosh. I love the tie-dye color number 2. It's bringing a lot of life.
Thank you. Thank you.
So for those of you who are just joining us, my name's Mckel. I'm the registered dietitian and founder of Nutrition Stripped. And I have my lovely, sweet friend, Ellie, who is also, oh my gosh, a teacher in so many ways. We met years ago and she taught me so much about mindfulness and meditation, and that is her jam. And I'm really honored to be doing this with you today, Ellie, and to be sharing some mindful tips and tools and just lessons so that we can enjoy this time together wherever you guys are joining in from around the world, and we can just spend a little time learning, playing, doing a guided meditation, opening up the floor for a Q&A. So yeah, Ellie, do you just want to, I know I kind of briefly introduced yourself, but
yeah,
do you
sure.
want to hop in and share a little bit more about what you do?
Of course. So my name is Ellie Burrows-Gluck, and first, I'm a friend of Mckel's. Secondly, I co-founded a studio in New York City called Mindful, MNDFL. You can find us at Mindful Meditation on Instagram. And I'm also the CEO and a meditation teacher. And we have physical studios. We're in over 250 companies teaching meditation. We just launched Mindful TV in the time of Corona so that you can sit with our teachers no matter where you are in the world. We also have Mindful Video, which just has static content that's always available to you. We train people to be meditation teachers. I think we've graduated over 200 students at this point who are now, spreading meditation and teaching it. And we also have a nonprofit arm called Mindful Ed, where we do what we do in underserved communities and schools. So meditation has impacted my life in the most profound ways. I always like to say it's not a cure-all, but it's definitely a super helpful tool. And, I've never felt more gratitude for my meditation practice than in moments like this. So I'm really excited to be here and just share with your community and with you, answer any burning questions about why now, how to keep it consistent, all that good stuff.
I love it. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, Ellie. And that's what I was thinking personally as well. And I talked a little bit about this yesterday on my Instagram stories because I was going over a journal prompt exercise to kind of get people in that headspace to just explore their emotions, feelings, what they're sharing, but also setting intentionals and being really mindful about that. And meditation is such a game changer for me. Like you said, it's these times when we realize that we do need a little extra tool for us to connect, give ourselves permission to just feel and move through what we're going through, whether it's anxiety or stress. There's a lot of emotions. They're real high. So I think meditation is such a beautiful tool. And I'm excited to also teach those of you who are tuning in and watching, especially if you're new and you're like, what is meditation? What is mindfulness? How do I actually make this work? So I know you have a really lovely process. I'm all about methods, systems. Yeah. I teach that in our method membership, and I love the efficiency in those bite-sized, tangible tools. And you have a 4C process.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, of course. So I like to also start by just defining some terms, right? So you said, what is meditation? So meditation is really the act of bringing your full attention to an object like your breath or a mantra, if that's what you're practicing with. And then mindfulness has a separate definition. And mindfulness, sort of the definition I love to use, is attributed to John Kabat-Zinn, the father of mindfulness-based stress reduction. And mindfulness is the act of bringing your full attention to the present moment on purpose and without judgment. So oftentimes people confuse these two words, and there is a type of meditation called mindfulness meditation, which is the act of bringing your full attention to the breath. So 3 different terms: meditation, mindfulness, and mindfulness meditation. So we're going to actually do a little bit of practicing with mindfulness meditation at the end of this discussion. But you alluded to the 4 C's, and that's what I like to sort of, if we're jotting down, quick notes about how to build a practice. I always like to mention those. They're super duper helpful. So the first one is commitment. So when you're really thinking about building a meditation practice, it takes a fair amount of discipline and consistency. That's the second C. So most studies show you need about a minimum of 10 minutes a day, 8 to 10 weeks to really see the benefits over time, which are cumulative. So there's your third C. So the more you practice, the more benefits you reap, and the more you begin to see it sort of unfold in your life. And often that's the best incentive to keep practicing, right? You notice that you're staying consistent, even just 10 minutes a day, finding even a consistent place in your house, a consistent style of meditation, a consistent amount of time of practice. Consistency is like the big C word, the star, if you will. And then last but not least, probably my favorite is choice. So really what we're doing when we're practicing mindfulness meditation is flexing our muscles of attention and awareness. So attention on the breath, and then awareness when we've wandered off the breath. And that mechanism of choice, so choosing between all the anxious thoughts we're collectively feeling in this moment and our breath, really teaches us how to have greater choice when we're off the cushion. So when we're living our life out there and we feel that same rabbit hole of thoughts coming like we do in meditation, which is totally normal, we say, wow, I'm really changing my relationship to my thoughts. I'm not having as much judgment around that. I might even be able to pause and take a deep breath and just, help ground myself in sort of this and this constant stream of thoughts that we don't really have a lot of control over, right? This idea that we're going to use meditation to control our mind is absolutely false. That's like not the point of it. It's not about mind control. It is not even about like Jedi tricks from Star Wars, although George Lucas is a big meditator, which is, I think, why meditation, especially because it was written in the 70s when he was learning, that's why it's such a big part of that story. But what I would say is it really just helps us develop a healthier, more whole relationship to our thoughts, and a more forgiving one down the road.
I love that. I love the 4 C's as well, because in relation to our health and our well-being, and nutrition obviously is my whole world, that's where I'm coming at it from, all of those 4 principles are completely applicable to how we nourish our bodies and how we choose to nourish our bodies. And I love the choice and the consistency, because we know habit change too, whether it's our eating habits, our lifestyle habits, adding a meditation practice as part of our habitual lifestyle and our actions that we're taking every day. It's about consistency, and it's also about repetition. So right. I love that. That rings so true to me. And I'm always saying, like, health is a daily practice. It truly is. You have to take those things and those actions, whether they're eating behaviors or lifestyle behaviors like mindfulness or meditation or mindfulness meditation, and really allow yourself to practice that and give yourself that space to do so. So that's,
yeah, and I think it's important to acknowledge also that choice is also like a privilege, right? That we even get to like choose what we're putting in our bodies, or that we get to choose to make time for meditation. And so it's also another important part to acknowledge that choice is often a privilege. And especially now, I was joking when I did that Well and Good Live, that Instagram Live, that there's like a 5th C word that's coming up a lot right now, which is control, because I think a lot of us are feeling like we're having a lack of control. And so meditation can really help us get comfortable. C words everywhere. with that loss of control, and really allowing ourselves to really feel into all of that and allow everything to come up rather than running away from it, or losing ourselves so much in technology so we don't feel anything, so it's a really interesting time to be, practicing.
Yeah, I would love to add another C element to that.
Let's do it.
Which would be check-in.
Yeah.
So checking in. It's something that I teach all the time, and I practice myself, even if it's just like a simple check-in question of like, hey, how are you right now? Where are you in your body? Where are you in your energy, your hunger levels, your fullness? Like, what are you hungry for? Are you hungry for a distraction? Are you know what I mean? It's so hard for so many of us, and I'm not obviously like an expert. I will always be a student in this, but it's so
will I.
for us
always a student.
Yeah, it's so
even me.
And I'm like, what? You're the teacher. But no, I mean, it is. Like, I think that's the best teachers are students too. But it's one of those things that we find, I know for myself to be true, silence is such a beautiful teacher, or sitting still, or just being with your thoughts. And it's so difficult. It is so challenging. But to be able to just give yourself that practice in the space to be able to sit, not look for control and distraction, I think is so helpful for our well-being, and also with our eating habits too, with like mindful eating. Because I know I would love, actually, Ellie, your thoughts on this from your mindfulness background and your approach. But mindful eating is something that I talk about and teach about within the Method membership and with clients, because it's such an important part of our eating experience. It's not just about the food we're eating and the food types, but it is about how we are eating the food as well, how we're enjoying it, honoring our body, nourishing our body in the best possible way, listening to our body if we do want the French fry, or whatever it is, because there's no good or bad foods in my book. In addition, there definitely are foods that are better for your long-term health, but like all of them have a place in your diet. For most of us. But I would love your perspective on mindfulness and how it merges with eating.
Yeah, you did a beautiful sort of dovetail from, check-in into mindful eating. And so one of the Tibetan words for meditation is gom, which means to become familiar with. So meditation helps become familiar with all of who we are. So if we're feeling like we're falling asleep in our practice, it means we need to sleep more. If it feels like some sad feelings are coming up, it means we're carrying that, right? And we need to kind of like let that up and out. If we're feeling hungry, it means we probably didn't eat enough. And so that's why people sit down to practice and they'll be like, oh my God, I need a snack, because they've been going and going and going, and they sit down and they realize, wow, I'm a hungry human being, because I'm just giving my nervous system a little bit of a rest and my body is letting me know what it needs. So when it comes to mindful eating, yes, so we can apply these principles, right, of bringing our full attention to the present moment on purpose and without judgment. So that means, right, like if we are craving French fries, for example, not judging ourselves for that. And how do we use our mindfulness practice? Well, then we say, okay, well, I'm going to have these French fries because that's really what I want to eat. And I'm going to enjoy every single minute of it. I'm going to bring my full attention to eating this French fry. So like the way it crunches in my mouth. I mean, mindful eating it can get really technical.
It can get real technical.
Like what does it feel like to chew 100 times, Like, can I feel the saliva that's building in my mouth around this like deliciously perfect toasted French fry? I mean, I don't like the soggy ones. I only like the crispy ones. So for me, it would be like extra well done fries, crispy, and just like, rather than just like eating them all at once, it's like really savoring and sort of getting into the full pleasure aspect of it while we're eating it, and bringing your full attention to exclusively that, which is the consuming French fries in that moment. And of course, I think another sort of piece of it is that mindfulness really allows me to be in dialogue in a much more three-dimensional way with my own mind, right? So that conversation about spinach versus French fries, let's say, where I can have the awareness that spinach is going to be a more nutritious choice for me in that moment. And maybe I said, okay, I need to make sure I'm getting my greens in today because I know I feel so good when I'm eating those greens, but this moment is for French fries. I'll come back to that greens. I'm holding both in my awareness, right? Yeah. The fact that I want these French fries and I need these greens. Yeah. And I'm not judging myself for either, right? Or holding myself to any impossible standard. I'm just kind of sitting with and noticing my craving and kind of bringing my full attention to fulfilling it. So it's and you can use it in lots of different ways. I will say, I think there's a product called like mindful mayo, which that's not exactly a correct use of the term mindful. Like mayonnaise is an inanimate object. It can't actually be mindful. But I just want to say that because obviously it's nutrition stripped and people name like inanimate objects like mindful mayo. That's not actually a real thing. Mayonnaise cannot be mindful, but humans can be. Yeah,
I love that. Yeah. And I love that you put out the example of, for example, spinach and French fries. I also teach that too. It's such that balance of science and art. And the science, of course, like Nutrition Science 101, we know that consuming nutrient-dense foods, whole foods, a wide variety of macronutrients at every meal, and to our best ability, and knowing that that's good enough sometimes, just being honest and truthful, like, hey, did I try my best to get the foundational 5, which are all macronutrients, like your non-starchy carbohydrates, your starchy carbohydrates, your protein, your fat, your flavor factor, which brings that joy and the pleasure elements to a food experience, which is so, so important. And I love that you brought up the pleasure and the joy and like the deliciousness, and using that mindful eating exercise of paying attention to all the sensations, the feel, the sounds, the smell, the taste, obviously, the sight. And so it creates that that pleasure and that enjoyment, and then also allows you to soak in it and really enjoy the process too, in addition to the actual enjoyment of the food. So
I mean, that's what it helps us do. It helps us, get really comfortable and be fully here in the present moment. There's nowhere else to go. There's nowhere else to be but here right now. So it allows us to like fully show up, even for our food.
I love that. Ellie, do you want to answer some questions? Because we actually have a lot.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, you guys, just give me 1 second. I'm going to scroll back to these comments because I saw some really, really great ones. Carolyn 185, she asks, how do you deal with panic attacks? So maybe from like a mindfulness or whatever your world.
Yeah, so I just want to give the disclaimer that I'm not a doctor or therapist. So I think, what I would recommend is definitely talking to a professional around panic attacks, really understanding your own nervous system, what's gone on in your personal life that might cause panic attacks, or things that you've personally experienced, any traumas. I'd recommend speaking to like an expert in terms of mental health around that. Meditation and mental health are not necessarily the same thing, but what I will say is the breath is an incredible tool for regulating the nervous system. So if depending on what a particular panic attack could look like, taking a deep breath or having an already stable practice that can help you navigate that and mitigate the intensity is probably would be pretty helpful. But again, I have to say, definitely speak to a mental health professional about that.
I love that. Yeah, we actually had several questions about panic attacks or anxiety in general, and I do think, yes, wholeheartedly, I stand behind that. Reach out to your professional, your licensed healthcare professionals, because that is what they are here to do, to serve you and support you guys. So always check that out. And yes, of course, use grounding, breath work, and meditation as a beautiful tool. Same with
meditation, definitely. We see a ton of stress resilience in the science. We see a reduction in depression, especially paired with regular exercise. We see a decrease in anxiety, but that comes with pretty consistent practice. So we are going to practice obviously together for about 10 minutes after we answer some questions, and it'll feel good, right? But if we really want to begin to be in deeper relationship with self-regulation around our nervous system, you have to develop a pretty consistent practice over time. That's what I mean at the start by it's not a cure-all, it's not a Band-Aid. You're going to do it for 10 minutes and it's going to solve that for you. But if you can get consistent, it's a really amazing, sort of wave that can just lift the boats a little.
I love how you speak. You're such a beautiful teacher. It's so great. Okay, so we actually had another question about, could you restate the 4 C's? Or what? Maybe the 7 C's? Did we come up with 7?
We came up with a lot of C's, but my core 4 C's are commitment. So making the commitment to practice, consistency. So practicing for a minimum of 10 minutes a day for 8 to 10 weeks if you're really building a practice. Consistency can also be a consistent place in your home, especially a lot of us are working from home right now. So, or a consistent place in your office when we do go back, something just to keep the environment even consistent too, a consistent style. So not leapfrogging to different types of meditation, but really cultivating one style that works for you. There's a lot of styles out there. The 3rd C is cumulative, which means the benefits build over time. So the more you practice, the more benefits you see. We named some, reduction in anxiety, reduction in stress, reduction in depression when paired with exercise. Also, studies have shown enhanced creativity and enhanced communication skills, which is really interesting. And then the last C, of course, is choice. So what we're doing with mindfulness meditation is choosing between our rabbit hole of thoughts in our mind and this sort of running dialogue that we do not have a lot of control over, and our breath, which is a point of focus or attention in the practice. And learning how to choose between the rabbit hole of thoughts and the breath really helps us learn how to make bigger decisions off the cushion.
Love that. Thanks for sharing that again, Ellie. I know people are joining in too and they want to hear that. And then I had a few questions about how to deal with emotional eating or emotional eating due to these stressful times. And this is such a great question, one that I dive in deep on So I have a Method membership, which is your program, and I have a whole section in that program just dedicated to mindful eating, but also bringing a lot of awareness to that situation. So one thing that you guys could do ASAP, because I really try to give you guys some tools and tangible things that you can use. This is actually so beautifully aligned with Ellie's presence here right now, because one of my biggest things during emotional eating is to identify how you're actually feeling. So how I do that is a stop, drop, and ask method. And so what I try to do is in that moment, or wherever you are feeling like you're emotionally reaching for a food, just fill in the blank with whatever food choice you might naturally gravitate towards. I simply just say stop, drop, and ask. So stop yourself and ask yourself, stop yourself in that moment with awareness is what I mean. So just bringing awareness to the fact that you're reaching for food to fill an emotional void or to meet some type of emotion, or maybe you're not super aware of what that emotion even is and you're just kind of consuming foods in a way to feel great or lit up or more comforted or less anxious, less depressed. Like there are so many reasons we as human beings consume food. So I think it's just honoring yourself and being compassionate, being super compassionate. So what I call compassion curiosity is being really curious, but also being super compassionate towards yourself as you are exploring what those emotions might be. And then, so that's the stop component. The drop is if you literally have food in your hand or you're about to take action, is to just drop the action and take a pause. And that'll also help give you that space to then ask yourself these types of questions. What am I really hungry for? Is it that I'm bored? Am I lonely? Am I happy? Am I nervous? Am I sad? You can start to build that awareness by asking yourself these little like curious, compassionate, detective questions. And then what I like to end it up with is taking that action. So if it is that, you know, you discover, hey, I'm feeling really stressed out, so I'm reaching for this food, then just take a pause, take some deep breaths. If you can engage in a meditation to just kind of clean your slate, if you will. And this is actually a perfect segue because I think we could totally go right into some breath work and meditation so that you could actually implement what Ellie's about to teach you. That way you're just a little bit more self-aware, your mind-body connection strengthened, you have a little bit more tools and reflection to take the next best action versus being quite reactive, which is a lot of what emotional eating is. It's that reactionary type of, you know, like, oh, I just need this something. So just creating those spaces for yourself can just completely transform every decision that you make. And it also ends up being your long-term habits with your stories that you're telling yourself around food and also how you're emotionally engaging with food behaviors. So
there is actually, Mckel, there is actually a style of meditation to cultivate compassion. So I think that, you know, this idea of showing ourselves an enormous amount of self-compassion and really learning how to do that with ourselves. So that's actually what teaches us how to do it with other people. You know, it's really hard to do it with other people if we don't actually know how to do it first with ourselves. And so there's a beautiful type of meditation called loving kindness practice, which, you know, Sharon Salzberg literally wrote the book on it. It's called Loving Kindness. You can pick up that book and learn more about that style. And it's really about learning how to cultivate love for ourselves, for someone else, for a neutral person, for society at large. And it will kind of walks you through these steps and this type of meditation practice. So I highly recommend that. Because I think, yes, self-compassion is a huge part of that emotional eating equation for sure.
Oh, I love that resource. Thank you for sharing that. I'll link that in the comments for everybody who's watching this later too, because that is, we are in a time where we all need, you know, I mean, we need it year round, all the time, no matter what phase of life, but especially now for the collective too. So I think that's beautiful.
Awesome.
Amazing.
Well, should we do a little practice?
I think we should do a little practice.
Okay, great.
Yes.
So if everyone just wants to take a second and find a comfortable seat, just adjust this just a little. Perfect. And if you have a meditation cushion, great. If you don't, it doesn't matter. A chair, a couch on the floor is fine. You can sit cross-legged. If you're in a chair, legs about hips width apart is pretty good. And just taking a moment to find your seat. And just notice the surface you're sitting on, your sits bones. Is it hard? Is it soft? What's the quality of the surface you're sitting on? And then once you have a sense of that quality and you feel connected to your seat, we can go ahead and bring our full attention to our feet. And let's begin with our pinky toes. So bringing our full attention to a body part as small as the pinky toe. Noticing if your pinky toe is in a sock and a shoe, directly touching the ground. And maybe bringing our attention to the other toes. Feeling where they meet the earth. And then noticing the ball of the feet, the sole of the feet, even the heels. So zooming out and getting a sense of our whole feet, of our whole foot or feet. Noticing the lower legs, the muscles in the calves, and the shins. Seeing if we can identify any sensations in the legs. Noticing the thighs, the larger muscle groups in the top of the legs. And then the base of the spine, really the anchor of our seat. And then from the base of the spine, following the spine's natural curvature, all the way up to the shoulders. In this practice, we take a posture that is uplifted, dignified, but not strained in any way. Bringing our attention to our shoulders. If it's helpful, you can shrug them up and let them go, just clearing any tension you might be finding in that area of the body, making space. Noticing the arms, the top of the arms, the forearms. If it's helpful, you can bend your arms at 90 degrees and then allow your palms to rest gently on the thighs, hands a few inches away from the knees. And then just taking a moment to feel what it feels like in your body below the neck. Then bringing our attention to our head, relaxing the muscles in the face, relaxing the forehead, the cheeks, the jaw, even allowing the jaw to hang open ever so slightly if we're feeling any tension in the teeth. Taking a moment to relax these small but mighty muscles. These muscles that work all day, telling another human being what we're thinking, what we're feeling. And then you can tuck your chin in ever so slightly so this head finds a perfect point of balance with this body. And if you'd like to practice eyes open, you can keep your gaze 2 to 3 feet in front of you. Soft focus. Not looking at anything in particular. Or if you'd like to close your eyes, you can go ahead and close them now. And then just taking another moment to feel what it feels like to be this aware of your body. Taking a moment to feel what it feels like to be this held by gravity. And then from this place of embodiment and from this place of groundedness, see if you can connect to where the breath feels most available to you today. Perhaps it's in the movement in the belly, the rising and the falling of the chest, or even the subtlest of breezes at the tip of the nose. There's no need to change or alter the breath in any way. We are simply working with its very natural cycle. Observing the inhale, observing the exhale, and even the space between our breaths. And of course the mind will wander. It's a totally natural part of this process. We need our minds to practice in the first place. So when we become aware that we're thinking about emails we have to send, or people we need to call later, or things we need to do, we can just say thinking. Ourselves, and then gently and lovingly come back to the breath. There's nowhere else to go. Nowhere else to be, but to be with the breath in this moment, right now. Is it possible to stay with the breath for just one full cycle? That in and of itself is the practice. Taking our final few moments to simply be with the breath. Showing ourselves love for showing up today. That our breath showed up for us today. And maybe bringing to mind one thing we're grateful for in this moment. No need to search. Just the first thing that comes to mind is absolutely perfect. What's one thing you're grateful for in this moment? And to close out our practice, let's go ahead and take 3 deep breaths together, in through the nose and out through the mouth. In through the nose and out through the mouth. And one more time, in through the nose and out through the mouth. And whenever you're ready and in your own time, you can raise your gaze, open your eyes, move the body, maybe smile at Mckel and I, even though we can't see you, or at Mckel and me, and come back into the space. Thank you, everyone, for practicing with me and for being here today, and Mckel for hosting. So incredible that you're sharing this with your community.
Oh, thank you. That was so amazing, Ellie. Thank you so much. When you were asked towards the end what we're grateful for, I was just like, well, I'm just grateful for sweet Ellie right now. Truly, you have the most soothing voice, and just, that was a beautiful practice. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Of course. It was just 10 minutes. So that's what 10 minutes feels like. You know, and we work up to more as we go, but that's really all you need if you really want to see those benefits. So, yeah.
I love that. And for all of you who are joining a little bit late or not live, I'm saving this video. So anytime you need this 10-minute beautiful practice, you have it at your fingertips, and we're here to support you. Ellie, did you want to answer any other questions, or
if someone has questions that came up after that practice, I'm happy to answer them.
Just a few more.
I'm sure, you know, people want to know, is it supposed to turn off your mind? No. So one of my first teachers loves to say, the mind involuntarily thinks like the heart involuntarily beats. So we need our minds to practice meditation in the first place. So we're going to be thinking those thoughts, and we just change our relationship to our thoughts. We don't expect them to disappear. So that's just always a good one to start with.
Yeah, and then whenever I had some questions about like when to use this, so you guys can use this anytime. During a work day, you can take 5-10 minutes, do this at work. Whenever you're feeling particularly anxious or overwhelmed, or you just want to create that little space in your day, I think that would be my recommendation, unless you have anything else, Ellie.
Yeah, I think if you were really building a practice, sometimes it's super helpful to do it first thing in the morning, so you kind of get it out of the way and over with. Not that we want to like get it out of the way because it's not a fun thing to do, but we just know that we did it in the first part of our day, and we can sort of enjoy the rest of the day rather than pushing back our meditation and feeling this like pressure that we haven't done it yet. So sometimes a little beginner's tip is to schedule also a consistent day of time, right? So every day at 8:30 or 8 or 7:30 or 6:30. I don't know how many early risers we have here, but I'm sure we have a few. So yeah, that's probably what I would recommend.
Yeah, I love that. I second that. I have that part of my morning routine because it makes me feel a little bit less reactive during the day, more grounded, more focused, aligned. So I love that practice. So Ellie, where can people catch up with you and your beautiful mind?
Yes, I'm going to type it into this little text box here. I don't know how to pin anything. I'm not as I'm
so I think you can just comment.
Guiding I'm good at.
Comment
Instagram.
And then you can hold it, and then it should ask you if you want to pin it, and then
Okay, great. I don't know how to pin
there we go. Mindful meditation. And I'll also, for those of you who are joining in too or watching this later, I'll share this on IGTV. Ellie, I'll give you a copy too in case you want to share it on your IGTV, and then I'll give you all the info and everything so everybody knows where to find you and where to get more resources. But thank you so much for giving this gift for all of us today. I love you so much.
So much. I love you so much. I miss you. And thank you for all the good work you're doing. And this has been such a treat. So thanks to everyone for hanging out with us.
Thank you guys. Have a beautiful day.
Have a beautiful day. Bye.
Bye.